their apology, they can shove their apology up their ass. Hemi Panarin definitely looked like he got his mojo back. He got an assist. I was wrong. Big.
I always love that whole I was wrong thing big time, because it's funny to think about, when you go into these these playoff series and you make these predictions, and the playoffs are just they're a wild card. They're a complete wild card. It's funny we have wild card seeds these days, but just goes to show you how wrong you can be about certain series. Anyway, welcome to the Final Buzzer. I am your host for today, John Falkowski. You know me as Filk. I respond to another assortment of names, probably names that I probably shouldn't be responding to over the years, but whatever. And have with me from Ranger Central, Matt. I am being we're going to be joined by, I believe, Statboy Steven and Evan at some point today. I think Evan's going to be on very soon. Steven should be on very soon as well. But they will both be joining us. So, Matt, what are you thinking about these playoffs so far?
They're good. They're entertaining. A couple of series that, I mean, there's one series in particular which I thought it was going to go a bit deeper, but looking at it right now, it might end up being a sweep, because I said for the Pittsburgh Phillies series, I picked Pittsburgh in 6. That's not going to happen. At least Pittsburgh winning in 6. They maybe might come back and have a rare 3-0 deficit comeback and take that series in 7. But as of right now, Philly's just completely dominating them. I mean, they took the first 2 in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh got out to their early 1-0 lead last night, courtesy of an Evgeny Malkin goal. But Pittsburgh and their young forwards, they've really taken it to the Pens and their veteran group. So guys like Martone, Michkov, they've been really good so far. So gotta give massive credit to Philly and Rick Tocchet as well, because he's got that team playing really well right now.
Well, let's jump into that one then. So the leading scorers, obviously, you could see Philadelphia has 5 that are tied with 3 points, and like you said, it goes to show the dominance of the Flyers. I remember the one thing I said about that series is that Pittsburgh, if they were going to win it, they were going to have to get out to an early lead, because I thought the longer that the series would go, the more that it would favor the younger, more energetic Flyer team that can skate very well. But it seems like this whole Pittsburgh unit can't keep up with Philadelphia in general, and they are just all over them. I mean, to go over their scores, the 5 that they have that are tied in points right now, you have Sean Couturier, who looks like he's turning back the clock with his 2-way play with 3 assists. Rasmus Ristolainen has a goal and 2 assists, as well as Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale. And obviously, we've talked about the emergence of Porter Martone. We talked about it yesterday. I don't know which embellishment call you're talking about, though. You'd have to clarify that one for me, Josh. And like Dave says, like, share, hype, and subscribe. Tell everybody about us. Tell everybody to join and get in on the fun. But I have no words for this, because I thought Philadelphia could win this series, and I'm pretty sure I picked them in the brackets that I did play. But the way that they're doing it and just systematically dismantling Pittsburgh is just something that I thought I wasn't going to see. And it's completely unexpected, but it just goes to show you what team speed can do for you. And it's not just skating fast. It's not just having fast skaters. It's playing fast. We've talked about Florida before in the past. Now, they don't have like burners or anybody that specifically sticks out to you as like a real speed burner, like a McDavid or a Barzal or a McKinnon or a Larkin or a Makar, somebody like that. But they play fast hockey. They're on top of you. They're in the right spots at the right times. Philadelphia seems to be doing that with Pittsburgh, wouldn't you say?
No, they have. And I think the other biggest thing that's hurt Pittsburgh in this series, well, I mean, there's really multiple things. There's 3 key factors. One, Philly's doing a really good job at shutting down Pittsburgh's top contributors. I mean, Malkin has 3 points and Carlson has 2 points, but Crosby surprisingly only has 1 point so far to these first 3 games. Shenikov, who was an incredible pickup for them during the regular season from Columbus, he's been ice cold, no points at all. Ben Kindle, again, who had an amazing rookie year, he's been held to 0 points. Pittsburgh's power play has been completely frozen out. They have not done a great job at, one, carrying the puck into the zone, or 2, sustaining pressure in the offensive zone when they do get the puck into the zone, and 3, defensively, they've been all over their defense has been a mess completely. Chris Letang has had a terrible series defensively so far.
He's been awful. He's been awful. And you're right about that. I mean, their zone entries look disjointed. They're just not on top of things. The passes just aren't clicking. It just Pittsburgh, they lack attention to detail, and you can't do that come playoff time. You have to be on top of everything, and Pittsburgh just looks completely, like I said, disjointed. Like there's nothing there with these guys. So I don't think this series goes beyond 4. I would be shocked if it's not a sweep in the next game, because and not only that, but Stuart Skinner. You thought that you were getting so much of an upgrade over Tristan Jarry with Stuart Skinner. You really just made a lateral move. And he's supposed to be the guy. Not saying that he's at fault for everything, because the team in front of him has played like crap. But what did you expect from Stuart Skinner? A guy that was scapegoated at times in Edmonton. What did you think you were going to get? I just don't understand that one. I don't. And I know that we're past the point of talking about the trade, but you kind of have to talk about it for a couple of seconds, because right now a better goaltender might be able to make a difference in this series for Pittsburgh, and they just don't have the goaltending that can bail them out with all these mistakes that they're making. What, shorthanded goals? You can't be letting up shorthanded goals in the playoffs. You're going to doom yourself. Your power play is bad enough. You cannot let up shorthanded goals. You at least have to have your special teams have to be awash at least. At least. And Pittsburgh special teams have been god-awful, as you pointed out in this series. So I think that's ending in the next game. I assume you're on board with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe Crosby gets hot and he just says, fuck it. Like, I'm going to put the team on my back and I'm going to, just have an all-time performance to try to win in one game. But ultimately, even if Pittsburgh does win the next game, I don't see it going beyond 5. I just think, again, Philly's got the upper hand on it. So maybe Pittsburgh steals a game, because it's hockey. You never know what happens. And, they're fighting for their lives. So, but yeah, I could easily see this series ending in 4. And yeah, I mean, listen, like you said, Phil, the Stuart Skinner trade was at best a lateral move, but really, like, when you compare both teams, that Skinner was on in terms of Edmonton and Pittsburgh, it was a bit easier for Edmonton to get away with Skinner in that, even with all his god-awful defending, because, I mean, one, you have a much younger core and a much younger 2 superstars. I mean, listen, no disrespect to Crosby and Malkin, like those two guys are still really good players, and they're 2 first ballot Hall of Famers. But when you have, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in their primes at 27, 28, yeah, they're able to put up, a bit more points, and they're able to dominate a bit more at a higher level compared to where, like, Crosby and Malkin, more so Malkin, because he's, kind of declined a little bit since his prime. Crosby, you can argue he's still up there to where it's like, he's still dominating at the highest level. And then second of all, I know we've clowned Edmonton's defense over the last couple years, but Edmonton's D-core is a lot better than what Pittsburgh's is currently is, especially when you have the rotting corpse of, Chris Letang on there, and then when you have a guy like Erik Karlsson, which, cool, he puts up the points, but defensively, he's not anything special.
Yeah, and that's a big problem. That's why I'm saying, like, you need a goaltender that can bail you out. I do agree with this. Philly got hot at the right time, and Pitt got hot about 4 weeks too early. Yeah, I went back and I saw that. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, he's known for it in the past, but he hasn't really been like that in recent years. So I try to give him the benefit of the doubt, Crosby, but I get why people would think it's an embellishment. I do understand both sides of it. So, but we're gonna move away from that series and move to Carolina and Ottawa, which has been kind of interesting because it feels like the first two games could have gone either way. And the leading scorers in this series, you got Taylor Hall, Logan Stankoven, and Jackson Blake, funny enough, are really doing all the heavy lifting. Everyone else on Carolina either has 1 point or 0 points. No one else has multiple points aside from those three. And Stankoven, who I criticized as hey, that's your number 2 center. I don't know what you're going to do. He's having a great series so far. It's still the first round, but Ottawa. Jake Sanderson, the only guy with multiple points, and he's got 2 assists, no goals. I mean, that's got to change. That's got to change. I know they were a Tim Stutzla post away from winning game 2.
Oh, yeah, that was a close
He got
call.
that breakaway, hit the post, and went out the other side. I thought once he got that breakaway, game was over. And especially when he made the move, and I saw the puck go around the pad, I was like, oh, that's in. And it ended up not being in somehow. So, but this is an interesting series because Ottawa has played good enough they were good enough to be in game 1, and then they were good enough to win game 2. And now they're down 2-0 headed back to Ottawa. Carolina, 2 things that I look at with Carolina. 1, they play much better at home than they do on the road. And 2, they're a lot worse when they don't have last change for those matchups. So, I mean, I don't know what I see here. I can see Ottawa maybe stealing a game, possibly 2, because I think they're going to use that element to their advantage. But Brady Tkachuk has got to stop taking bad penalties at the wrong times for me. Like, I look at him. You're supposed to be the captain. You're supposed to be the leader. Play on the edge. Don't go over it. Like, it's like watching Sean Avery with the Rangers back in the day. Like, you always looked for Sean Avery to play on that edge. No, that's not a Dallas Stars logo, by the way. Sorry. Something a little different. Has nothing really to do with hockey, actually. But it's they're a couple of bounces away, and they need to just convert on their special teams. I mean, I don't know if you're seeing it that way or if you're seeing something different or.
No, this is a series. I mean, pretty much all of them have been entertaining for the most part. There's not really been one bad series so far to start. I mean, like you guys said on the last podcast episode, that the first round is just excellent because there's so many good and enticing matchups. But I mean, listen, both games were competitive. I thought Carolina deserved more to win game 1. Game two was a bit closer, and I thought Ottawa played a lot better in that game. I think the biggest thing for Ottawa that's in their favor right now, heading back home, even though they're down 2-0, is that Linus Ullmark looks like he's locked in because he made a couple of big saves in that game too, and that was the biggest concern going into this series for Ottawa is, what are they going to get from Linus Ullmark, because he had a terrible, regular season. I know he had that period where he had to step away from the team, with all those allegations and whatnot, but he's come into this series specifically, and he's looked locked in so far. And then, I mean, listen, the other thing is Ottawa's top guys, they need to come out and they need to perform. Brady Tkachuk, like you said, needs to stop taking dumb penalties. We know he can perform at the highest level. The guy's a gold medal winner. He needs to go out there and start scoring. I know Stutzla almost scored that goal, but 0 points from him so far. He's got to be a lot better. Sanderson's been very good, like you said, with 2 assists so far. Drake Batherson had a really nice goal to get Ottawa back in game 2. It was a bad play by Aho. He tried to just flip the puck up through the middle. Sanderson took it down over to Batherson, and he sniped the top corner. So, but I mean, like I said, that's the biggest thing for Ottawa so far. Listen, you're down 2-0, but at the end of the day, you're heading home. And we all know what the old cliche saying is in hockey. It's, you're never fully in danger until you lose on home ice. So, Listen, like I said, you're going home, you're down 2-0. But like you said, Phil, we know Carolina statistically and historically over the last couple of years, specifically with this group, they're not the best team when it comes to playoff time playing on the road, especially, not getting that final change. So with Ottawa, I think you have to be at least a little bit, enticed that, you're kind of still in this series. You're getting good goaltending from Linus Ullmark, and you still haven't seen the best from your star players, but you do know your star players are capable of stepping up and putting up the big numbers and, creating those, game-changing moments. I think the other thing for Carolina's point of view is you have to give credit for them, considering that, they thought they won that game earlier in overtime in game 2, and everyone's celebrating. And everyone's like, we're up 2-0. Let's go. They get that goal overturned because of the offside, and then they kept in it. They didn't. They didn't take their foot off the gas. And I believe it was Marnook that actually scored again to win them that game in game 2. So yeah, overall this has been a very good series. But I think for Ottawa, listen, the biggest thing is that you just got to win game 3. That's it. Take it one game at a time.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with all of that. I actually couldn't agree more with this point, but I'm going to make a slight correction to it. I'm going to say he's one bad goal away from being leaky. Like we've known Freddie Anderson to be a guy who lets up bad goals at bad times, and he gets in his own head. And if you're Carolina, if that happens on the road, that's a big concern. I mean, you can come back home and maybe quell the noise a little bit that way. But if it happens on the road and you start getting into your heads, then you might come back home and start gripping the sticks too tight, especially if this is a 2-2 series after 4. If Ottawa finds a way to tie this series in these next 2 games. So, I mean, for Carolina, you want to come out with at least a split. With Ottawa, you want to get obviously both games. But the most important thing is you've got to start having, like you said, your star players really have to start converting for Ottawa. Your Bathersons, your Stutzlas, your Kachucks, guys like that. Shane Pinto, I want to see more from too. I mean, guys like that really have to start stepping up. I mean, MYR for life is another thing here. Keandre Miller, when does he start making those mental mistakes? Because we all know he's prone to them. I know Carolina Hurricane fans don't want to hear it from the Ranger fans, but trust us, we've watched this guy for 5 years, and we've seen him just cough up pucks inexplicably at some of the worst times. It's probably going to happen at some point. I don't know when, but it's likely to happen, just knowing his history. So that's something you got to look out for. We are being joined now by Evan from Rangers Central. What's going on, Evan?
Not much. Entertaining playoffs so far, which is nice. And yeah, I heard you guys were talking about the Ottawa-Carolina series, right? Just now.
Jump in, please.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I really do think that what you guys were kind of talking about with how Carolina performs poorly on the road, I really think, given the fact that Ottawa has kept these games close and given the fact that these games could have gone either way, like you guys said before, I really think this is going to go back to Carolina tied at 2. That's my prediction early on with this. Like you said, though, guys like Tkachuk need to step up. But the bottom line is, it's kind of inexcusable right now that Ottawa is down 2-0, because I was watching with a couple of my buddies the first game, and I was like, I think this series is going to come down to whichever team gets just average goaltending. And the fact that they've got more than average goaltending from Ullmark and they're down 2-0 is kind of pathetic, to be honest.
No, I agree with you. I think, like Matt said, Ullmark is a man on a mission right now. He is a man on a mission, and he is locked in. He looks like the 2023 Linus Ullmark that we know, the one that won the Vezina Trophy the year after Igor Shesterkin did. And he's been a difference in this series. Don't get me wrong. Like, Ottawa is definitely in these games because of Ullmark. But at the same time, Matt's right. We haven't seen the best of Ottawa's star guys yet. We just haven't. And the scoring numbers show it, obviously. But I'm waiting for. I mean, who was it that said in the chat before that Stutzler was snake bit? I just saw the comment before.
Josh.
It was probably Josh, I think.
Yeah, a couple comments up. I see it.
Yeah, it just Ottawa, a couple bounces away. Stutzler snake bit. Like, I mean, and you know what? That's a good thing though. Like, if you can see that a guy is snake bit, but he's generating chances, eventually, like we went back to this reminds me of the Lafreniere conversation. That remember the ones like earlier on in the year with Lafreniere and how Lafreniere was generating chances and he was just snake bit.
Expected goals, man.
Expected goals conversation with him. Like, it's different with a guy like Stutzler because he has the pedigree. Like, at some point he's got to break through. Like, that's a guy that you expected. Tkachuk, same thing. So I think Ottawa, out of all the teams that are down the way they are, I think Ottawa probably has the best outlook because of that and the home ice and the goaltender is playing better than the other goaltender at the other end of the rink. And we all know Freddie Anderson, when he starts getting matched up against goalies that are really good, that can steal and win games for a team, he gets in his own head. And that's when those mental mistakes and those bad goals happen. And he, again, like I think Josh also said this. Yeah, he did. Anderson is always he's one bad goal away from getting leaky. So
yeah.
That's personally just me on that. I honestly hope it is tied 2-2 after 4. I would love to see that series go 7 and then just beat the absolute crap out of each other. But we'll move on to Tampa Bay versus Montreal, which is tied 1-1. We've had a bunch of overtime games here, or a couple, I should say. And you can see the leading scorers on each team right now. I mean, Gensel and Hagel. I mean, tell me this. Is one of the coolest storylines in the playoffs not Brandon Hagel being a WWE heel or a pro wrestling heel and saying, I'll play the bad guy. I have no problem doing so.
Yeah, and in retrospect, I forgot what account it was. When Hagel did get moved, I forgot what Rangers account it was that said the Rangers were getting him. Man, in retrospect, would that have been freaking sick?
Yeah, I bashed that trade because it was a lot to give up for a guy who was relatively unproven. And he just – listen, I don't know if he's a play driver on his own. I don't. But the one thing I do know is that he's probably the best complementary player in the entire league. Like, hands down.
Yeah.
So, like, you have a guy that's coming in, and he is just all over the place. Brick even killed a guy. Yeah, Brick, you might want to lay low for a little bit. You may be wanted for murder. But, yeah, I love this series. It did get heated seriously, like very, very quickly. There's a lot of tension here between these two teams. And it just feels like this is the next big rivalry in the East. I mean, we could talk about Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, but I think that's going to be very one-sided very soon. But this is the up-and-coming team versus the core of winners that are experienced. And I think, at least for the next few years, this is going to be a nice rivalry in the East. I would think maybe – I don't know what your guys' thoughts on that, Matt, Evan.
No, listen, this has been a very entertaining series so far. I mean, I predicted this series to go 7 either way. I mean, in the end, I picked Tampa to go 7, but it could very easily be Montreal in 7 games as well. And I mean, listen, I thought, like you said for Tampa, the fact that Hagel's got 4 points, the fact that, and this one hurts because we wanted him so much 2 years ago, but Gensel,
but his finger broke.
I wonder where all those Ranger fans are that say, that Gensel's a Crosby merchant and that, he wouldn't help in the playoffs. Yeah. You guys have disappeared very quickly.
But he broke his finger.
I know he broke his finger. The Twitter doctor said his career was over, even though it's not. But I mean, listen, on Montreal's side of things, Slavkovsky, I mean, the hat trick in game 1, he's had a very good season so far, and very nice to see that he came out, he performed big in that game one. I mean, it was huge for Montreal to go in there and first of all steal that game one in overtime, because I mean the biggest thing for them, especially when you're the road team, you just want to go, especially if you're starting a series on the road, you just want to go in there and at least split the first two games, and they were able to do that. Now they go back to Montreal. The Bell Center is going to be buzzing, because every time freaking Montreal plays in the playoffs, that place is wild. I mean, it's probably the most known hockey city in the NHL for a reason, right? And I mean, I'm excited to see where this series plays out from here, because I mean, I believe Game 3 is tonight, and like I said, I could see this series going either way.
Yeah,
Evan, what are you seeing?
What I'm seeing is what my prediction was going into the series. I think that whoever wins this series is gonna go to the finals from the East. These, in my opinion, that was my feeling going into it. I just think that these are easily the two best teams. And when you look around at the other series, which we'll talk more about, the Buffalo-Boston series, and how they're gonna get to play one of those teams. But yeah, I just think that both of these teams are, especially Tampa Bay. Obviously, we know that they're built for the grind, given the fact that they've won the Stanley Cups that they have. And, Montreal, I think that, if they come out of this series, that will say a lot for them. But yeah, like the comments said before about how this series is getting heated as well. Yeah, it's a really entertaining series, and you're seeing good goaltending as well. That's the thing on Montreal side, because the thing that the reason I picked Tampa Bay is because of Vasilevsky being that edge factor. Also, I did not realize Hedman was injured until game one, but I was like, I think Vasilevsky is just going to give Tampa Bay that edge, but Dobes has been giving, a good run for his money here in this series, which has also been impressive.
This might be the best goaltending duel in the entire series, entire first round right here. Double watch. I look at these two and just night after night, and you're right. Vasilevsky has the advantage because Big Cat has been the guy. I mean, he's got a Conn Smythe. He's got 2 Stanley Cups. He probably, I think, is going to win the Vezina again this year. I think Sorokin's last maybe month of the season he's kind of screwed himself out of the Vezina. But I just, when I look at Vasilevsky, I see that guy that just nothing rattles him. But then I look across on the other side of the crease, and there's Dobes. And he's just like, okay, like, you're going to do that? I'll match you. I got this. I don't care. And he just goes. And he has been nothing short of
He was the reason that Washington series went 6 last year.
Yeah, pretty much. I'll tell you right now, like Dobes. It's funny because we all talked about Jacob Fowler for like the longest time, and how Jacob Fowler was probably their heir apparent. Montembeault was their guy for a little bit, but everybody talked about Fowler. Now Dobes has really kind of come up, and he's like, I've got the, I've got it. He's the guy there. Like, I mean, I think he's the starter going forward, unless Fowler can come up and really kind of take the reins at some point. But I mean, right now, Dobes has been otherworldly for them. Absolutely otherworldly. Again, this is the best goaltending matchup I've seen so far in this first round. But this, again, is also the most heated of the matchups. I would give maybe Utah and Vegas the number 2 in that, because of the whole stuff around Nick Dowd and Logan Cooley. But yeah,
I also think goaltending wise, that's the second best matchup between the way Hart's been playing lately and Vizhabelka.
Yeah, Vizhabelka's been really, really good for them. We definitely want to get to that series in a bit too.
I'm also impressed seeing Montreal do this without Dobson right now, because that was one of the other reasons I picked Tampa Bay, is Dobson being out of the lineup.
I thought Hedman was going to be back for the series at some point. I didn't realize that he was not going to be back for this series.
I didn't know that either.
So,
yeah.
But
The other, I'll say one more thing. The other thing that's impressed me so far with Montreal, Josh Anderson. I mean, 2 goals. He's been really good so far. Shout out to Brooksy. Rest in peace as always.
Say, you know who's
because
proud of that right now, right?
Because he's Josh Anderson's biggest fan. So, but I mean, listen, as a depth middle 6 forward for them, I mean, more as a third liner, he's been really good so far for them.
You know what? It's funny because Montreal here has needed a physical presence really to kind of step up. And usually their teams are smaller and more puck possession based over the years. Like even the teams that face the Rangers, where was their physical play? Brandon Prost, Dale Weiss, guys like that. I mean, but now you've got 2 big bodies in Anderson, who's more of the power forward, and Slavkovsky, who not necessarily a Lindros or Lucic type, but uses his body effectively to shield pucks away and win battles and win races, like plays sort of like a power forward at times, but not the run you through the glass type guy. But those guys have been leading the charge, and it's helped the smaller guys out quite a bit, I would say.
Yeah, this is one of the better constructed teams in the league, and Josh is right that they're set up to be good for a while, and
They are.
I'm jealous because we know who one of the architects is there.
If you say meat and potatoes 3 times in front of a bathroom mirror 3 and Larry Brooks will appear. We miss you, Uncle Larry. We miss you, Uncle Larry. We really do. Sports journalism around here ain't the same without you, man. It really isn't. We're going to move on, though. Buffalo and Boston will finish up the East here. Tied 1-1. You can see all of their leading scorers here. Alex Tuck with a goal and 2 assists. Tage Thompson with 2 goals and an assist. And David Pastrnak, who I think is tied for the playoff lead in points with 5, with a goal and 4 assists. What surprises you guys most about this series?
The fact that Buffalo is just incapable of playing with a lead, and if they're going to want to win this series, they're going to have to start doing that, because we spoke about it plenty of times, even when the Rangers would go on their runs, where it's like, you can't keep playing this game where you're falling behind and trying them out comebacks, because it's just unsustainable to play that way. I mean, how many times did we talk about the slow starts killing the Rangers in their runs? And it's the same thing right now with Buffalo, where I thought maybe they were going to come back. Yeah, this is my point. I thought that Buffalo was maybe going to come back in game 2. I actually threw a couple of bucks on that in hopes that they would, but obviously that did not work out. But yeah, they need to start playing with the lead if they're going to want to win the series, because if not, this is going to go Boston's way, because they showed in game 2 that they are capable of shutting the game down. So yeah, it's really going to come down to if Buffalo could start doing that.
Maddie.
Yeah, I agree that Buffalo, they have to be a lot better in terms of playing with the lead, because they have been a bit sloppy. Which, listen, I'm not too surprised that they've been sloppy to start this playoff so far. One, because as a franchise, this is their first playoff appearance in 14 years since 15 years since 2011. 2, a lot of their guys, they're young, they're inexperienced. I know some guys, like when you look at like Tage Thompson, he obviously just won a gold medal over the past couple of months. And 2, I mean, their home fans have been so energetic and so amped up and so ready for this playoff series that maybe the guys on the roster were like a bit, nervous, having butterflies in their stomach. So I think, okay, listen, they won game 1. It was a great comeback by them. Obviously, you have Tage Thompson, their best player. He got the 2 goals to help them overcome that 2-0 deficit. Game 2, again, not great, especially Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, that goal that Connor Geekie scored from center ice. That's not great. That can't happen. I'm sorry, Morgan Geekie, my bad. But yeah, but I do look at it now because I think maybe Buffalo going now to Boston, going away from the home crowd, I think maybe that will just calm them down a little bit, calm down the nerves. You'll go into Boston, which again, we know Boston's a big hockey city. When TD Garden starts rocking, that building's very loud. But I think maybe for Buffalo's sakes, it's good that they're getting away from their home fans, so just that they can go, concentrate on themselves, concentrate on playing their own game. And yeah, maybe that helps them. But we also do know Boston, that even though, they're not the prettiest constructed team in the world, they do have a lot of good playoff veterans that have been there, done that. So again, ultimately, I picked Buffalo to win this series, and I believe 6 games, if I'm not mistaken. So again, that could still happen. But again, like the other series, I could see Boston, winning this series as well.
I would say that I picked. Pretty sure I picked Boston in 7, just because I thought the inexperience would hurt them, and I thought the questions in goal wouldn't help. But I did say yesterday that if there was to be a goalie change, if any team would have to make a goalie change, the team that I felt most comfortable doing it with was with Buffalo, because Alex Lyon has won big games in big spots for them. Like, you got to remember, he helped Florida get into the playoffs in 2022. He was a rock down that stretch for them. I do think that he can come in and help out.
Yep, I gotta go to work.
No problem, Eddie. Thank you for joining us.
I'll be watching the rest of the stream from my phone. So see you guys later.
All right, see you later, Matt.
Yep.
Let's go to 2-man here. Me and Evan. Steven is not joining us today. Wi-Fi issues, so he could not. So I figured to give an update on that. But going back to what I was just saying, like, I do think that Lyon is the one guy on a lot of these teams that could just come in and really help. Because, like, usually if you go to your backup come playoff time, like, you're usually screwed. Like, 9 times out of 10, you're screwed. I think this is the 1 time out of 10 where they can go to a guy that has the experience in the big moments. And I know it's like during the playoff run, it was Bobrovsky, but Lyon got them there, and Lyon was good enough.
Lyon won them a game against Boston in that series, right? He did. And you know what? And that was the Boston team that won 65 games, that was heavily favored, that everybody thought was just going to march their way to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they were bounced. So it's just crazy to think about. But here Alex Lyon is. He has another chance to do something big for his team. And if you don't think he's going to do whatever he can to rise to the occasion, I don't know what to tell you, because this guy he's not the best goalie in the world. But the one thing he's got, or 2 things that he's got more in spades, maybe as much as any goalie in the league, are heart and gumption. That guy has it. And he's a battler. He's a bulldog. He really is. Yeah. And it's really going to come down to Buffalo helping out in front of him and not waiting until the 3rd period, like the comments were saying before.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with this team. Like, I mean, I look at their scoring and I say to myself, like, Tage Thompson, great. He's carrying over from the Olympics. Alex Tuch showing you that he's a playoff performer. Payne Krebs is nice at a point per game, and Owen Power somehow has 2 assists. But where's Rasmus Dahlin?
Yep.
Matthias Samuelsson had that big game winner goal. Bowen Byram, you need more from. I want more from Jack Quinn.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're just not getting the depth scoring up front that they need.
Josh Norris, Goose Egg, Ryan McLeod, Goose Egg, Josh Doan, Goose Egg. The one thing I'll say is, although Zach Benson has a goose egg, he's creating chances every time he's out there. He looks really good. It just hasn't clicked yet. It just hasn't converted. So I really think that he's a guy that I expect to break through at some point in this series. Is Benson. He's just created too many chances and had too many chances where he's just kind of like Stutzle, snake bit. It's just not going. But he's getting there. And if you keep creating those chances, eventually at some point, that dam's going to break. So we'll move away from that series, though. We'll head to the West. And I think this is one of the series in the West that everybody's really, really looking for at is Dallas and Minnesota. And I don't know who else stayed up to watch that game, but I was up until 2:00 in the morning because that went into double overtime. And that was rough. But Dallas is getting the scoring from their guys. And then Minnesota has Joel Eriksson Ek as their top guy. And he left the game for a little bit last night. But you know what? You're starting to see the center depth become an issue for this Minnesota team.
Yep.
Kirill Kaprizov's been great. He's got 4 points. Only 1 goal. You need more. Quinn Hughes is playing like I don't even know how much per game right now because of the numbers are going to be skewed after last night's double overtime game. But he I guess in regulation per like 60, he's probably playing close to 30 minutes. Like it's nuts. Like they showed the chart and Dallas, Heiskanen had 41 minutes when they showed the chart and Lundell was the next closest at 30. And then Hughes had like 45 minutes, and the next closest, I think, was Faber with 38. That's nuts, man, to play that much hockey. Just unbelievable. But when does it start to wear on somebody like Quinn Hughes? Matt Boldy has looked great. Kaprizov's looked great, but they've got nothing at center. Matt Zuccarello being out after a 3-assist game in the opener, that's going to hurt them. It seems like every time Zuccarello's on a team in the playoffs and then he gets hurt, that team just suffers tremendously. New York Rangers.
I feel like every time he gets hurt, his is during the playoffs.
Brian saying, like I said, this one's done. Minnesota had to capitalize on Hintz being out to have a chance. Yeah, and you know that's why Mark had that question yesterday. Does this series hinge on Roope Hintz being out? No, but once he comes back, that is not going to help Minnesota at all.
No, especially when the center depth is as weak as it is. The other thing, Minnesota, I knew they were screwed yesterday when they were failing to capitalize, when they got as many power plays as they did.
Some of those calls in that game were ridiculous.
The one towards, I think it was the end of the third or one of the overtimes, that dive, I think it was Quinn Hughes.
I don't think he dove, though. I think he just toe-picked on accident. He was off balance somehow and just went. Like, that just...
Either way, that was not a good call.
And then the one that they called in the next overtime was just as bad the other way. What were you doing? I don't want to see a game decided by a power play. I don't. I really don't. I think it's terrible. Thank God they have Charlie Stramel next year. Yeah, please keep him away from New York. Whatever they do, please keep him away from New York. But yeah, Matt Boldy with that move, unbelievable, man. He's a guy that ever since that Olympic game, that I think that was a coming out party for him, man. Not that he wasn't good before that, but I think he's hit another level.
Yeah, and I think people are recognizing it more as well. I also couldn't believe that that McCarron goal yesterday. I did not realize he had that kind of snipe in his bag. I got to be honest.
Yeah, you know what? I said that to myself last night when they were on the penalty kill. Like he made like 3 really good plays on the penalty kill, and I was like, I know I wasn't too high about this because they didn't address their top 6 center situation, but McCarron was a sneaky good pickup for them, I would say. Like he does all the little things. He's got size. He's actually got some wheels for a guy his size too. And he's not afraid to go to the dirty areas. Like sometimes you need guys like that in the playoffs. Like, oh, not sometimes. You do need guys like that in the playoffs. Like think of Matteau. Like everybody thought Matteau was a journeyman. Like I think McCarron is like a modern day Stefan Matteau. Like minus the double overtime winning pedigree.
At least for now.
At least for now, yes. But you know, McCarron's one of those guys that's been a journeyman. He's got a bunch of size. He's got some skill that you don't expect. You know who he reminds me a lot of, like on the Rangers? I think I could see developing into at least that type of player. Yaroslav Hamalash.
Yeah.
Like big, fast, has pretty good hands and a pretty good shot. Like I think there's room for development with him. McCarron, it might be a little. It's a little different because he's older. But when you look at a guy like Hamalash, you say to yourself, like, what could this guy be? And I think he could at least turn into that type of player. McCarron's 6'6". He's 30. I mean, he's 31. So he's really kind of. I think what you got is what you got at this point, unless he has one of the most unbelievable career arcs ever seen, where he's just this super late bloomer. He probably is what he is, but he's a good piece in your bottom six somewhere. I would agree with Matt on this.
I agree with. Yeah, they gave up. They definitely gave up too much, but that's also where it's like, why didn't they just go the extra mile to get a guy like Trocheck or I don't know.
Oh, apparently Drury wanted 2 young NHL roster players for him. That's what the word going around is. I don't know what we make of that. I don't know if we're going to have another Arthur Staple thing where we finally get confirmation 2 years later that they didn't want to give up Capo Caco for Jake Gensel. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to open the wound there. I know you're and you guys were really the first 2 on that. I will always go back and give you guys credit. You guys were the first 2 on that. You guys said right away they didn't want to give up Capo Caco for Jake Gensel, and that would be a downfall.
I believe Emily Kaplan was the one that first reported that
a while back, right?
Yeah.
And you guys were like on top of that right away. You were just like not giving up Capo Caco for Jake Gensel. That was really when I'm not going to go down this road because then I'm going to go into that Igor contract and everything like that and all that other stuff. And we're going to, well, there's Rangers stuff to talk about. We'll save that for that point.
But the question also could be tied to this conversation with Minnesota, where it's like, are you going to regret not giving up Yurov to help you go all in, especially when the window is as small as it is for you right now? Like, I know they signed Kaprizov to that big deal, but you don't know what's going to happen with Quinn Hughes when his contract's up after next season. Are you going to regret not moving Yurov to help you go all in?
And the worst part about it is Yurov is the one who took the penalty that led to the goal.
That's so.
With the delay of game, which is
Trocheck probably would have took a penalty though too, so that's the only thing.
What's that?
Trocheck probably would have took a penalty himself because he's always due for one.
But... Yeah, Trocheck takes his dumb penalties. He's good for 1 or 2 the game. Brian saying here that Garen's going to panic and he's going to go full idiot and go get Trocheck and Tuck. I mean, all right, I could see it too. And this is exactly why. Because now you have 1 year left of
Tuck back in Minnesota.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be very, very
That would be a very Rangers thing to do, to watch someone's career go by, have his best years elsewhere, and then give him a contract as he's probably about to decline.
They're you know what? Honestly, their 6-man unit's one of the best in the league right now. I wouldn't say this about Minnesota's D-core.
Yeah, no, I think their D-core is one of their strengths. I truly just think it's their center depth.
Their center depth is
That's just
awful.
What's holding them back.
It's awful. You can't win with Joel Eriksson Ek being your only legitimate top 6 center. I'm sorry. It's just like the Rangers back in the day.
With Stepan,
Derek Stepan was your number 1 center on a team that went to the Stanley Cup Finals. And then the conference finals the next year. And then a conference finals, 2 years before the Stanley Cup. Like, you can't do that. You can't have that be the case. So it's, yeah, and that's the thing for me. That second pairing is solid. Spurgeon and Brodeen are real. If Spurgeon's your 4, you've got really good depth.
I also think Middleton's a really solid 5.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Bogosian is not bad as a 6.
Yeah,
He
you
gives
could live with it.
winning experience. He gives you physicality. He plays the type of hockey you're going to need to play. Like, say what you want about those guys. Your Sherratt's not good. Sherratt's just ass. I'm sorry, he's ass.
No.
But say what you want about defensive guys like that. But those guys are always in demand come playoff time for a reason. They are. Whether we like it or not, whether the analytics say they're good or not, they are. And Bogosian's one of those guys that has been on teams. And he's been on winners. And that's why they bring in guys like him as a 6th guy. If you have him anything higher than that, probably not good. But if he's a 6, all right, cool. As long as you have a guy that's capable enough at moving the puck. So
Yeah, and this is why it's frustrating when Drury brings in 50 million third pair defensemen. It's not that you don't need them, it's that you don't need 50 of them.
No, and you need puck movers. And that's why I think if Stenberg's not available or McKenna's not available, I really think that it could be one of Chase Reed or Carson Karls.
We'll get into the conversation later with the Rangers, but to like lead into what my thought is with that, I really wonder if, I'm hoping at least, maybe they're finally going to move Braden Schneider, and you draft a defenseman and you move Schneider to get a forward. Maybe?
Yes.
That would be the idea.
I'm going to reference with that. I think you might have seen it. But
The San Jose thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll talk about
We'll address that after. I do want to go back to Brian's comment that about Guerin needing to justify the Quinn trade. The thing that doesn't make sense about it is, and this is where I'd be mad if I was a Minnesota fan, why did you not do that now at the deadline? Because like I said before, the way I'm viewing it is we have a 2-year window this year and next year with Quinn Hughes here. Let's go all in to make sure we win in that window. And to not do enough after that Quinn Hughes trade was very weird to me. I mean, obviously there's still the offseason and next season to do something, but it's just so bizarre to me.
Yeah, I agree with you 150% there. Like, I don't know how you go and you make that trade and you don't follow it up at the deadline. What, because you didn't want to give up Yurov? Okay. So you want to go all in and you want to spend major assets, including Zeev Buium, who would have been a top pairing defenseman for you in the not too distant future, to go get Quinn Hughes, which I understand because you want to win. But you don't want to go the extra mile. That's what I was talking about before with the Jake Gensel trade.
Yep.
That's why you couldn't give Igor that contract. Because you weren't going to go all in then. When were you going to go all in? That's what you're getting at. And I agree. When were you going to go all in?
They also gave up Rossi in that trade.
Yeah. Zeev Buium, Marco Rossi, what, first round pick was in that deal?
There was another player too. Liam Ogren, that was who.
Liam Ogren, yeah. Liam Ogren was a former first-round pick, 2022, I believe.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Albert Smith looks good, too. That's another guy that could really be a very good player. It might be an option for the Rangers there. I don't want to get too much into the Rangers right now.
Yeah, we'll get into that later.
Our playoff talk. But we'll go on to the next series because we spent a lot of time on this one. Colorado and LA. Not a lot to talk about here. Very low event hockey. If I had to pick a series that was the most boring, it'd probably be this one.
Yeah.
I think many would probably agree with that. And you look at the scoring. Is that a good thing that Colorado is playing low event hockey? Or is it a concern that your scoring leaders only have one goal, and Nathan McKinnon has been relegated
does he even have
to
a point?
one goal? What's that?
I was gonna say, does he even have a point? But yeah, wait, he does have a.
Yeah, he has a goal.
He has an assist.
Oh, sorry, it's an
Just check.
assist. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah, let me.
That's still very
Yeah,
odd.
it's an assist. Sorry. So they have 10 players with a point. That's it.
I'm not too concerned because of the fact that they're going against LA, who does play more of a defensive style game. And say what you want about how poorly constructed that roster is, but that's just the way they play. I'll start to be concerned if we see it trickle into their round 2. Star that comment because I want to talk about that later when we talk about
What,
the
Carson
Rangers.
Carls?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a stud, man.
We'll talk about him later, but I view it the same way right now that I'm viewing the Edmonton thing, where it's like, although it's a little bit different because that series tied, but like you're up 2-0 and McKinnon's not producing. Imagine where you're going to be when McKinnon is producing, because it isn't one of those things where McKinnon's notorious for disappearing in the playoffs or anything. Because then
No.
we'd sit here and have the conversation to be like, okay, he just doesn't do this come playoff time. But at some point he's going to start to come through. And then even guys like Brock Nelson, who hasn't really done anything this postseason, he's going to come through at some point. He has in the past. Like, so that's a thing. Like, sure, is it a little concerning, especially because you're going against a team that probably had no business being in the playoffs either way with 19 regulation wins? Sure. But at the end of the day, these guys have came through before, to where I'm not worried that they're not coming through right now, because you're still up 2-0 in this series. But like I said, if it starts to trickle into the next series when you're playing a better team, whether it's Dallas or Minnesota, that's when it gets interesting and the conversation. And it's like, what's going on here with these guys?
I do agree with all that. The one thing I would bring up that is going to work in LA's favor is the fact that now they're going home ice, and now they're going to get last change. So LA, if they're able to stymie them this much, and Colorado without getting the matchups that they want most of the time, what are they going to be able to do to this team when they do have the matchups that they want, when they are getting that last change? How much of a dynamic can that play in this series is what I would personally ask myself. I feel that at the end of the day, LA doesn't have enough scoring power.
I was going to say, that's the only thing to where I can't say the matchups are going to make too big of a difference, because LA scoring is just non-existent.
Yeah, and I mean, this comment's kind of right here. Bend but don't break hockey for the Kings. We saw that with the New York Rangers. It got them so far. Yeah. And it got them to a Stanley Cup Finals where they played these very same Kings, funny enough, and they eventually broke against them. But you're right. I don't know what that can do, to what extent, if they're not going to get the scoring. And Panarin really is the only guy that has scored for them. Literally the only guy. So at what point do we say to ourselves, this series is probably over? Like, I think this series is over. I really do. I don't see a way that they can come back at this point. There are 5 players on LA who have points. Panarin with the 2 goals, and then Trevor Moore, Quentin Byfield, Alex Laferriere, and Brandt Clark have assists, 1 assist apiece. Everyone else is scoreless. Everyone else. Anze Kopitar. Drew Doughty is really starting to.
Where is Kempe?
Kempe is non-existent. The only thing good about Kempe is that he's even. Plus minus even. That's it. So when he's been on the ice, they haven't scored. So that's the one thing good you could say about him. He's trying to create chances, but it feels like he's on an island on his own out there. Like, really. Fiala, that really hurts them big time.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you win with centers. Your centers aren't producing. Kopitar, one of the greatest two-way players of all time. Nothing. He looks his age right now. Byfield was supposed to be the next guy, the heir apparent, the future number one center. What has he done in this series? He's got an assist, but he's looked invisible otherwise. Just hasn't been able to do anything. So, again, Josh is right, though. They can't get into a track meet with Colorado. If they try to open things up, they're dead. Because Colorado will open it right up, and their speed is going to kill them.
Yeah, I mean, this LA team is just, it's not well constructed. And I don't even know, like, just from a big picture standpoint, how they're even going to fix this going forward. Nonetheless, the short term here. Like, this is just not a well constructed team.
No, not at all. And you went out and you signed Artemi Panarin for what reason?
That was mind boggling, the extension, because this is a team that clearly needs to hit the reset button. Because I mean, even the offseason moves, when you look back at it too, it's just like you trade Spence for basically nothing, so you could go out and sign Cody Ceci
and Brian Dumoulin.
You let Gavrikov go, so you could sign Brian Dumoulin as well. Like,
I don't know if
understand.
they let Gavrikov go necessarily, because the rumor was that Gavrikov wanted to come to New York all along. Like, he wanted to be here, which, I mean, if you look at what happened, where people were offering him $8.5, $9 million, and he signed with the Rangers for $7 million, it makes sense. But Brian Dumoulin was just not good enough. Not a good enough replacement. He's been declining for a while. That's why Pittsburgh let him go. And then Anaheim lets him go. Like, you got to see him in Anaheim, and you were able to not figure out that that's not good enough. But Brian's right. I remember a time, and I am old enough to remember, when Ken Holland was considered the best GM in all of hockey. I remember. I am old enough to remember that. Yes, I am old. But that time is so far gone. Like, we are talking like at least 15 years ago. And longer than that. We're 16, 17 years ago where he was that guy. Where he was just, there was nothing he could do wrong. And now he has just ruined everything. Like, the last I would say 15 years of his career as a general manager have really left a stain on what is likely a Hall of Fame resume.
Yeah. And it's just like, this sneaking into the playoffs for them might be one of the worst things that could happen, because this is going to give them a miscalculation of where they are. I mean, they also have Joel Edmondson on that blue line too. Like, what are we doing here?
Edmondson's not bad as a 6. He's not bad as a 6, but if you have him anything higher than that, you probably got depth.
I was going to say, because the problem is you have Ceci and Dumoulin as well on that decor.
Yes, and that's the issue. You have too many of those types. You don't have enough puck movers. Doughty is not a premier puck mover anymore. We're past that. He's not a 45, 50-point guy anymore. He's just not. He looks like he's close to retirement. Brandt Clark is an up-and-comer. That's your big puck mover. But where else? Where else is your puck mover? I don't blame you on this. I am going to disagree with you about Holland, though, not being able to adjust to 2004, because he kept bringing in guys for almost 10 years in Detroit that helped them win. And, Franzen came out of nowhere. Datsyuk's and Zetterberg's emergences post-lockout were big. He brought in other pieces that helped extend them to be competitors, like at least top-level competitors, so like 2012-ish. And then it was those next few years where they really started to fall off. So, but again, I do agree on Lou. Lou never adjusted after that 04 lockout. I mean, I remember the 3M boys Malikov, and Mogilny, and how they had to get rid of the three of them in like one offseason, and they paid San Jose a first-round pick in 2006 to take Malikov. I was like, oh, they knew that trade was going to, or that signing was going to be bad. And I knew McGillis was going to have problems with the skating. Mogilny, he was at the end of his rope. But Lou has just not been the same guy in the lock since the 04 lockout. He just hasn't. But Holland in the last 15 years has really kind of ruined his resume.
Yeah.
But
this is just bad. Like the Spence thing also is just crazy. Like I don't know if you saw the phone call of him telling Spence about the trade that got leaked.
no.
They basically just told him, like, yeah, we're moving you for Cody so we could bring in Cody Ceci. Like, imagine getting that phone call. Because it was something along the lines of, like, so what
They legitimately said those words to him.
Basically, so what they said on the phone was, yeah, we're moving you because we're looking to go in a different direction and we're going to look to sign someone else. And we thought you'd lose playing time. We're looking to let you get some playing time elsewhere. And we thought this would be the best opportunity for you so we could sign someone else.
Wow.
That was the phone call.
Wow. Unbelievable. That's
horrible.
Oh, man, that's Holland for you, though. You got to remember, Holland brought in CC to Edmonton, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
This is obviously a guy that he loves for whatever reason. I don't understand it. I don't, because there's not a lot to like about this guy. But I'm with you. I'm almost out on Byfield, too. Like, he's got to start showing me something.
I'm not almost out. I am out. It's year 6. It's the same conversation I've had with Lafreniere. Obviously, Lafreniere towards the end of the year had his little here. We'll see if it actually builds in the next year. But I'm just at a point where I'm just fatigued of hearing about, could this be the time? Could this be the year? No.
You know what? I do understand it, and the conversations do mirror themselves. I feel like injuries have really hurt Byfield more than they've hurt Lafreniere. Lafreniere's laziness has really kind of annoyed me with him.
Yeah.
But I think with Byfield probably going to get the lion's share of the minutes at center in these next few years, we're going to see what he's made of. But I'm very close to saying that I'm out on him, because there's only so much rope you can get. Like, it's like Tampa Bay. What's funny? When I look at Quentin Byfield, I look at Chris Gratton. And I a lot of the people in this chat are probably not going to remember Chris Gratton the way that I did. Some of the older heads in here absolutely know Chris Gratton. But Chris Gratton, I think, played in Kingston in the OHL, and he was a big-time scorer. He was a big center, big physical guy that had size and skill. And being drafted 2 years after Eric Lindros, he was in the top part of the 93 draft. People thought that Chris Gratton was going to be the next big power center. And Tampa for years waited on him to become that great player that they all thought that they were going to get. And he played over 1,000 games in his career. Solid depth player. And finally in 97, you saw like a breakthrough in his 4th season. He had 30 goals and 60 points. But then, inexplicably after that, for whatever reason, Tampa gave up on him, and he signed as a free agent with Philly. And then a year and change later, he was traded by Philly with Mike Sillinger for Damon Lankow and Michael Renberg. And they brought Michael Renberg back to Philly to kind of reunite the Legion of Doom line with Lindros and LeClaire. But Gratton was a guy that we always looked at and we always thought, when was he going to break through? And it's just like Byfield. High pick, size, skill. The package just the package will draw you in, no matter how far along he is, no matter how far away from his draft stature he is. Like, teams are going to take a chance on him because of the fact that he was a high pick and he'll show you flashes. But you're right. I don't blame you for being out on Byfield completely. I don't.
I think the other problem was being drafted to LA. I think being drafted to that team with the way their play style was also just one of the worst things to happen for his sake.
And you go to a place where, all right, so in 2021, he plays 6 games. The next year in 2022 with LA, he plays in 40 games and has 10 points. Like, and you're just like, okay, like, it's his second year, not a big deal. Like, Anze Kopitar still producing at 34 years old. He still looks like the guy. They have Philip Deneau there. It wasn't the best. You're right, though. It wasn't the best situation for him to come into because of the fact that there was so much center depth there. Like Lafreniere. Lafreniere was probably drafted to the worst team that he could have been drafted to, because on the left side there was Panarin and Kreider ahead of him. He wasn't going to get the minutes. They weren't going to be able to give him the minutes, or they were going to have to or they should have made the decision to move in the right wing earlier on in his career. But finally, 3 seasons ago, he starts to show promise. And then last year, 54 points. And then this year, it's a down year. Like, is this what he is? No, I don't. David Legwand's another good comparison, just because he was a great skater, but I don't ever know if David Legwand was in a not a great draft, that 98 draft. But there was just a lot that could have went into that. So, I mean, maybe he is a fine 3 center. Maybe just like Gratton, he turns into a number 3 center. But you never know. We'll see what happens with that. Let's get away from this series, though. This is the one that I've been into the most. Vegas and Utah. I love this series so far. Vegas has 6 players tied with 2 points. I mean, they're just a dearth. I think I picked them to win in both of my brackets, Vegas, both brackets that I did. Mark Stone, Colton Sissons, Ivan Barbashev, Noah Hannafin, Jack Eichel, Mitch Marner all have 2 points. I mean, Tomas Hertl has been snake bit despite getting chances. Shea Theodore, you expect the points to start to come. Pavel Dorofeyev, after having nearly 40 goals this year, has 0 points. That scares me for Utah. And Utah's played great. They've played them great. But they are just some sort of breakout away from really kind of bursting the gates open and letting the floodgates go and being that team that we know that they can be. Because if their guys can get going and really solve the Melka, I think that series is over.
I agree. And I ended up picking Vegas to go to the finals from the West in my bracket, because I just look at the scoring depth. And like you said, some of it hasn't even showed up yet with guys like Dorofeyev. And it's going to, as good as Vishmelk has been playing, the scoring depth is going to come for Vegas. And you just look at that center core too, one of the better ones in the league. But I will also say that, if there was a series that I thought was going to be the quote unquote upset, I commented this yesterday while you guys were live, it was Utah. And
you did,
was one of the tougher series to predict. I also will say, similar to how I feel about the Montreal Tampa series, based on what I've seen through 2 games at least, I think whoever wins this series is coming from the West. And I could be entirely wrong, but that's just the feeling that I have based on what I've seen from these 2 teams. But yeah, I just think at the end of the day, if Vegas could just find a way to open the floodgates with their scoring, it's going to completely turn the tides of the series. But is that even going to happen? Because we know Tortaki.
Oh yeah. Well, That's the thing. That's a good point to bring up. And that's part of why I picked them, though. Because I look at that team and I look at the depth and the balance of two-way players that they have. Your Eichels, your Marners, your Stones, Barbashevs, all guys that play really good, solid two-way hockey. And you know what this team reminds me of? They remind me of the 2004 Tampa Bay Lightning. Like, the defense is solid in core, but it's not fantastic. The goaltending is solid because Carter Hart looks like he's back to his form like he was before everything happened. He looks like he's back to his form. They've got the guy, and Dorofeyev is another good two-way player. He's another good two-way player, but more. I mentioned him before with the goal scoring, but that's a guy that once he gets going, he could be, But I mean, this team just up and down. They have pieces in the right spots. They bring in Cole Smith to help with their fourth line. Nice acquisition. They bring in Mitch Marner, and Mitch Marner fits like a glove for them. And I think everyone knew that Marner and Eichel and Stone together would be something great, but Colton Sissons is a great depth piece. Barbashev is a good top six forward. I mean, McNabb always plays solid playoff type hockey. Nick Dowd was a very good pickup from Washington because they needed bottom six help. Tomas Hertl is still there. Like, look at the names: Stone, Marner, Eichel, Barbashev, Hertl, and Dorofeyev as your top six. Is that the best top six in the NHL right now?
It's definitely one of them.
I mean, Dallas, maybe? Colorado?
Dallas, Tampa.
Montreal?
I mean, I picked or Vegas and Tampa as my finals for a reason.
That's, I think, what I had in both as well. I think I had Vegas and Tampa. But I look at this team and I just see balance. I look at this Utah team, however, though, and the one thing that I like about them is they're not scared. They're not scared. Logan Cooley's response to Nick Dowd saying he was going to kill him is just awesome. Awesome. Can Iginla play if Kelowna gets knocked out? I think he can. I think if he signs an entry level, I think he can. Ian Cole, again, say what you want about defensive defensemen, stay-at-home guys. Ian Cole goes from team to team because he's won cups and he plays the dirty role that nobody wants to play. He'll take sticks and pucks to the face. He'll block shots. He'll throw hits. He'll clear the front of the net. That's one of those guys that he just gets it done. The little things that nobody else wants to do, you need those guys come playoff time. And that's a nice piece for them on like a bottom pairing.
I was going to say, but the key is on a bottom pair because, not to keep bringing up the Rangers, but Ryan Lindgren was just on the top pair for way too damn long. That.
You cannot have that. You cannot have that. I love what Utah did with their roster construction. Like the way that they've built up this roster as just building around guys like Keller and Cooley and Gunther and the guy they kept Krause, which I like because Krause is one of those guys you want on your team come playoff time too. He's like a slightly more talented version of Will Cooley, I would say. Plays that type of game. JJ Peterka was a nice pickup for them. Michael Carcone does great. Alex Kerfoot as a 3 center is a very good 3 center. Maybe not the best in the league, but a very good 3 center. And then they bring in Kevin Stenlund, who's got cup winning experience with Florida, and Brandon Tanev. And those guys are guys you hate to play against in general, even more so come playoff time. You've got your puck movers in Sergachev and Dursey. Schmidt and Marino can both move the puck decently well. Uyghur can move a puck. Uyghur's been good for them. Like, this roster is constructed well. But Vejmelka, right now, you could say Vejmelka's really been the difference. And nothing against those guys. But Vejmelka has been one of the 3 best goalies in the playoffs so far.
Yeah.
Am I wrong there?
No, I agree completely.
Character guys. I mean, you got to have them. You got to have them. I know intangibles are like sort of frowned upon in hockey, especially by younger people who are more the Zamuth. I love that thing, man. That thing is great. But you know, younger heads who lean more towards analytics frown on guys like that. You gotta have them to a point, and they insulated this roster the right way. It's full of heart. It's full of gumption. It's a zero fucks given roster. The way that I look at it, because these guys, like, normally you would think younger guys would be more afraid of somebody like Nick Dow coming and threatening them like that. What does Logan Cooley do? He goes back and scores a game-winning goal. Like, that's what you want. You want a guy like that to step up and say, you know what? You're going to threaten me? No, fuck you, dude. I'm going to go and I'm going to hit you where it hurts the most, the scoreboard. And that's you know what? This Utah team has fought with them. They've fought. And they've got a fighter's chance because they've got a goaltender who can steal games right now. So, I mean, that's the type of player you want. Let me tell you right now, I'd move mountains to get Logan Cooley on the Rangers. I would move mountains to get him. Because I think that's a future point per game player and more. So, yes, Matt, yes. Absolutely agree with this. Stenlund is a guy that can produce in that slot. Gaudreau is not. And, have you guys seen the discourse about Gaudreau amongst San Jose Sharks fans? They are not liking him taking up a spot right now.
I was going to say, I haven't seen that, but that doesn't surprise me.
Well,
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? I don't know. Tell you right now, the one thing that Chris Drury did right was to get rid of him. He had to. He knew it.
Yep.
The Rangers don't like players like Cooley. They prefer
unfortunately, that's the problem.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, unfortunately. But we will move away from this series. We're going to talk about Edmonton and Anaheim, which has been, I think, the highest scoring series of all the series so far.
Gotta be.
Goals have been scored. But Leon Draisaitl's got 4 points in 2 games. Troy Terry and Jackson Lacombe each have 4 points in 2 games. Yeah, this has been an interesting one because here's going to be the main topic of discussion. And I think you know exactly where I'm going with this.
I know exactly where this is going.
Yep. 97. We got to talk about it. I think 11 games pointless now in the playoffs after last night. I think 11. I know they said 10, I think, on the graphic last night. But I think it's now 11. Like, this is crazy to think about. Absolutely crazy. Like, is this a bad thing? Because it's lasted so long? Or is this a good thing because when Connor McDavid finally wakes up, and he's going to, is that going to just spell the end for Anaheim? Because Leon Draisaitl is carrying the load right now on his own and proving that he is not a McDavid merchant.
Yeah, I view it similar to how I said with Colorado with guys like McKinnon. I think that the fact that they're tied right now and McDavid hasn't got going is scary for Anaheim. I mean, I picked Edmonton to win this series in 5 because I just simply thought McDavid and Draisaitl single-handedly will just absolutely kill them, and we haven't seen it yet, and I think it's going to happen, but especially because that Anaheim decor, like, I thought McDavid would be licking his chops because Matt's bringing it up. I thought, and Trouba has been fucking up, but I thought McDavid would be licking his chops to just feast off of guys like Jacob Trouba and Radko Gudas on that Anaheim blue line. And yeah, that turnover in the neutral zone last night was not good. But he's Connor McDavid. Like, if he doesn't turn around within the next game or two, then we could start to be a little worried. But yeah, Bouchard without a point too. I don't know. To me, it's one of those things where I view it the way with the Colorado series where he's gonna get going. So I wouldn't be worried if I was an Oilers fan. If anything, I would say, okay, when he's getting going, we're gonna handle Anaheim pretty easily.
That's what I wonder. I mean, I wonder if it's McDavid is just going through something, or if Anaheim is just doing that good of a job. And you too, Josh. We'll have a little NFL talk here in a little bit, but we'll have a little Rangers talk too and some other stuff. But we'll go for a bit longer than this. But this is our last series really to cover. But yeah, I really do wonder what happens when McDavid starts to get going. Like, is it a rout? Because there's no way you're going to keep this guy down for an entire series. No. Like, it literally in his career, it has never happened. It has never happened. So I wonder how much of it is the work of guys like Jackson Lacombe and Lucas Dostal and all those other guys on Anaheim and the work that they're putting in. I mean, Cutter Gauthier just having himself a series right now. Really having himself a series. He's had himself quite the year, though. I mean, 40 goals this year from him? I think.
Yeah, good for them making that trade.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? He'll always be vilified in Philadelphia, but I mean, it looks like he's made the right decision for his career. I'll tell you that. But I mean, there's just a lot. Like, so the first game in this, I just want to go back and kind of look at the scores again with it. This one was, so last night was 6-4. And then I think Monday night was 3. Okay. Yeah. So that's 17 total goals. I think, yeah, that's the most through the first 2 games of a series so far. I think that actually might be the most in general, even with the other teams playing 3. So, but yeah, I like what they're doing to Edmonton. I just wonder how sustainable it is. I wonder what their matchups are going to look like once McDavid gets going. Is that going to free up for Draisaitl? Is that, or is Draisaitl going to, or are they going to manage the minutes where Draisaitl's taking the head of the minutes and it's McDavid that they're trying to relegate and trying to get him going? Or are they going to put them together and try to get the two of them going together? And then when that happens, can you stop them? That's the question. Because it's literally like, I literally think of it like Rick Vaughn in Major League with Jack Parkman in the second movie. Here comes the old number 1, Parkman, the Terminator. You hit it, you can rename it. And that's literally what Edmonton can do with you with the two of them. And good luck if you can. If you can stop them, you got them. But I don't know if Anaheim can handle that.
No, I don't think so. Especially considering, like, Lacombe's good. I like a couple pieces on that decor, but again, he should be feasting off guys like Jacob Trouba. We saw it plenty of times here.
Yeah, I mean, he embarrassed him. I mean, the goal that he scored against the Rangers was Trouba and Nemeth, I think, on the ice, right?
I cannot believe that was an actual thing.
Yeah.
Kevin Rooney.
Trouba's kidding Rick having to help defend McDavid and Draisaitl on the same line. Oh man. I mean, I can't necessarily blame him. I probably would too if that was me, but just the thought of Trouba trying to deal with those guys is just hilarious. But we'll take some other questions and comments and everything like that here. So might have to shoot down a tree to cope. Oh, I'm gonna get PTSD. Great. Thanks, Brian.
Get the barbecue going.
Yeah, get the barbecue going, guys. So let's talk about this one. Josh, who left, said Carl's does have Makar vibes. I know you wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, because this is the guy that I'm starting to really fall in love with for the Rangers to pick if they stay at 3 or, worst case scenario, fall back. I don't know. I get the Makar vibes a bit, but I commented it yesterday before you guys moved on from the conversation about him that the only thing I'll say about him compared to Makar is I think his playmaking is a little bit more bland than Makar, personally.
Yeah, but I think it's really unfair to make that comparison.
I'm not saying that it's like, I'm not saying it's bad as playmaking. Don't get me wrong. It's just like, that's the only thing where it's like, I get it, but also I think he's more comparable. I stand by what I said. I think he's more comparable to Sanderson and McAvoy. Like, those are the guys that I look at and think he's the most comparable to.
Music saying love Carl's on the Rangers, but the problem is you won't be in your power play 1. I don't know.
Yeah, but how nice would it be to have a second functioning power play unit? Wouldn't that be cool for a change?
Yeah, it definitely would be.
Also, I still have concerns about how Fox is going to hold up health-wise going forward, because we're talking about 3 years now, because even in that 23-24 playoff run, that knee injury was an issue, and then it popped up again last year, and then this past year too. Yeah, it's exactly what was it I said? I don't know if I said her name right, but it's exactly what he's saying, that I don't want to say he's injury prone yet, because I think it's unfair to declare him as injury prone, but I have concerns at the very least where this could be a reoccurring thing at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, no one that thinks that is wrong, and that's why I kind of wondered about Fox's future when like those comments were said, and just because you got to remember, I think he'll be like 31 when his contract ends. So, are you going to give him a new contract? And if so, how long are you giving him a contract for?
Yeah, it really depends on the amount and length.
That's the thing. Like, I could see him still being a 60-plus point defenseman, especially with a good team around him. It's just how will the defense be affected? I mean, if Gavrikov stays and it's him and Gavrikov, like, what gives with him? Like, is it his health? Does his health become a problem in those upcoming years? I mean, because if you give him that second contract, that like 3, maybe 4 of those years are probably going to be good. And then after that, that's when you have to really start worrying.
Yeah.
So, but Reed, I when I look at Reed, I think I see the best offensive player in terms of defenseman right there. I think he's the best offensively. Maybe Carl's is a close 1A, 1B, but I when I look at Reed and I hear the comments from like Drury and Sullivan about puck movers, it makes me think that they would lean Chase Reed. And I think everybody would love that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining if whether it's Carl's or Reed. I'm not complaining, honestly. Um,
No, I'm not.
Again, this is if they stick at 3, and this is also under the assumption because we're hearing, those rumors that we talked about yesterday with Chicago, how they like Malhotra a lot. I can tell you right now, if they take him at 2, assuming the board stays the exact same, which it never does, but going under this assumption, if Chicago takes Malhotra and the Rangers don't take one of Stenberg or McKenna, depending on who falls from those two, I will lose my damn mind. But with that said, yeah, if those two go and Reed's the guy they pick at 3, I'm not complaining. If it's Carl's, I'm not complaining. Veerhoff, I don't know. The thing with him is the thing that I like about him more than the other defensemen is I have such hangover from guys coming over from juniors putting up production versus the NCAA because it's just so much more competitive over there to where, I take a lot of stock into what Veerov's doing at that level in comparison to Reed in the OHL or Carl's in the WHL. But I also think that it's one of those things where, do you want to bank on the ceiling or do you want to go with a safer pick? Because I think Veerhoff is safer than Reed and Carl's, but I think the upside between those two is far greater than what Veerhoff could be.
I think Verhoff is the better overall package. I that's what I think. I think the others are more dynamic. I
Yeah.
could be wrong, but
Yeah, the skating's definitely
that's
an
a
issue.
problem. That's a problem. And I don't think the Rangers are going to want to take a risk on that.
I hope
don't
not.
think they're going to want to take a risk on that.
I hope not, because if this team actually wants to go anywhere, it'd be nice to have some guys that could actually skate. So to me, it's got to be Reed or Carl's if they're drafting a defenseman. Like, those are the guys where it could actually make a huge difference. God forbid they fall to 5 and Veerhoff's what's left, then sure, take him. But to me, if those are, those are your 2 options, it's got to be one of those 2.
Well, it's funny we talk about defensemen because one of the things that we alluded to before that we were going to talk about was the whole thing with Braden Schneider
Yeah.
in San Jose. Vince Percogliano brought it up. Molly Walker had a spread in today's posts or yesterday's post about it, about Braden Schneider. I think it's time. I think it's time to move away from guys like Braden Schneider. Like you if you have Will Borgen here, Schneider's got to go. If you have Schneider and you want to keep Schneider, Borgen's got to go. So
the other thing too is, are you really going to give Schneider an extension if you're drafting? If they draft Reed and give Schneider an extension and they're like, hey, you know what? Schneider can play the left side. I might lose my mind, because how ass backwards do you have to be thinking to do that?
I was literally just reading a comment in on Phil's tweet about this, where someone said Eklund is a guy I could see San Jose dangling for defensive help, just not sure how interested they would be in Schneider or Borgen. I would love to send Schneider the other way for
Eklund or Mesa. I would not complain about either.
I don't think they would do Mesa. I don't
think so either, but either one of them, I would not complain. But that would be a smart thing to do if they did that and then drafted Reed or drafted Carl's. That'd be a smart thing.
I disagree with this. And again, I'll point to it. Right-hand shot defensemen always have value. They just do. They're I would take Musty as well. Musty would be a guy that I would be okay with working with. I know the skating is a little bit of a concern with him, but I don't think it's any more of a concern than it is with Liam Greentree. I don't think it's that bad. You got to remember, what was the knock on Gabe?
Skating.
Size and skating. And what has he done?
The only thing I'll say is it really depends on, you have to have the IQ to make up for that then. And Gabe has that.
Yes, but Gabe has improved his skating considerably.
Yeah.
Look at how, like, when they brought him up for that brief stint last year, look at how far behind the play he looked constantly. Now he's not at all. He's with the play, and he's starting to slow play down on his own. But you're right. Part of it is IQ. I agree with you. You're not wrong on that at all. But you also have to have the ability to actually skate, to be involved in the play enough to have the puck to be able to slow the play down. There's two parts to this. And Gabe, yes, he does know where to go, but he has improved his skating. I would just go back, look at tape from last year, and then look at tape from his call-up this year. And I think you would be lying to yourself to say that he's not a faster skater than he was last year.
No, yeah, he is. Just with the thing about Schneider not having a lot of value, I mean, you bring up right shot defenseman having value all the time. Look at what Romanov as a left shot defenseman got for the Islanders. If you could sell me, even on draft day, if you're telling me the Rangers could get the type of return that Romanov fetched, I'm going in the streets naked if you could go ahead and get a first round pick for him, because then you could even argue, okay, you get a first round pick for Schneider, and even if it's a middle first round pick, maybe you could use that in the Carolina first to move up in the draft a little bit if you want
to get somebody you want.
Could do that, because then you can maybe get a top forward in the draft, get a top defenseman, and then I mean, I might get naked on stream at that point. Who the hell knows? But at the end of the day, you got to move on from this guy, because you can't have Borgen and Schneider on the same roster. And if you're going to draft a right shot defenseman, you can't have Reed and Schneider and Borgen all on the same roster.
Yeah. Oh, no. Well, I mean, Reed fills a role. That's the thing. Like, I get the handedness, but Reed fills a role. Those guys are redundant pieces, Schneider and Borgen. Like, you look at those two and you say to yourself, you don't need that many guys on the same roster. But Chase Reed is 6'3", he's about 200 pounds.
No, yeah, for me it was just the handedness, because
you
can't sit here and have Schneider playing the left side. The guy could barely play his normal side well.
No.
You can't give him an extension to play his offhand.
I don't think Fox is going anywhere. Like, I agree with you, Gabe, that he could fetch a haul. Like, the return would be massive. But I don't think he's going anywhere. The comments all around him lately have kind of seemed to signal that he's not going anywhere, man.
No, he's not.
Like, I get it, but I don't think it's happening, my friend.
I think if the team's really, if the team has another really rough season, I could see it being a different conversation a calendar year from now. But for right now, he's staying.
I think the second half of the year brought him back in.
I agree. I also think what Brian's saying is true. I think the Olympics thing also played a factor.
Okay. And this is Vince Mercogliano today. I'm gonna bring this up here and share screen just because I want everybody to see it. So let's bring this up and let's have this. We'll expand. But again, the impression I got to talking from Fox and the things I'm hearing, I feel it's highly likely that he isn't going anywhere this summer. like Mika Zibanejad, he's going to be committed to what comes next. So, yeah, I agree with you, Brian. I don't think it was ever Ranger related. I don't. Yeah, I don't think it was ever had anything to do with the Rangers themselves. I do agree with that. I really do. I think it's a matter of the comment. I don't think it had anything to do with the Rangers and the direction they were going in. I think he wants to be here. He loves being close to his family. This is the team he grew up wanting to play for. I mean, this is his dream. He's literally living every Long, well, not every Long Islander's dream, but he's living a vast majority of Long Island hockey fans' dreams. You grow up rooting for the Rangers, and then you get to play for them, and you become one of the best defensemen in the entire league. That's a dream, man. That is it's a friggin' fever dream to be able to get something like this. Like, you are in the top 1% of the world, my man.
Could they do the same with Trocheck for high draft pick plus? I mean, they could, and I think they should. I think Trocheck needs to go this offseason because I want that contract as far away as possible before it starts to get bad. And I also think that, unfortunately, you're clogged with Captain Cancer in your top six. Mika Zibanejad gave you a reason to actually believe that he could be in the top six again. There's just no room right now for Trocheck. I mean, you could move him or JT Miller to the wing, I suppose, if you wanted to, but I just don't think that's the right idea. And, you know, as much as, again, I would love for it to be Captain Cancer instead of Trocheck, I don't think that's happening. And I think you have to move him because, again, like, you know, Trocheck, it would be fine if he was the 3C, but I want Noah Laba getting those minutes going forward. So I don't know what the return would look like, but I think you have to move him this offseason.
I agree, and that's another thing. Let's bring up. I'm going to go back to Phil's page because he, because of this. So let's share screen again. Thank you, Phil, for always paraphrasing these. He does just great work doing this. But let's get this up. And let's expand. So the New York Rangers, I can tell you, believe they were able to get more for Trocheck this summer. I've talked to people around the league who think the logic is there because of the rising cap and the weak free agent class. Yes. Also, what I had said previously, when during our trade deadline stream, I sound like you when I run a Teams call setting up. Way to tell me that I sound slow. But it's that there are going to be more teams that are going to be involved. Now, another thing is that Trocheck's no trade list goes from 12 teams to 10. Sure, it's not much, but it helps a little bit. So now you have a slightly more flexibility, and now you're going to have teams that were maybe on the bubble that didn't want to pull the trigger because they weren't sure if this would guarantee them a playoff spot. Maybe they'll be involved. Maybe Detroit will revisit. Maybe Minnesota will revisit if they get bounced.
You get Detroit's first round pick this year?
Oh, the TPS reports. What else is new?
I would not complain if they got Detroit's first this year.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't at all. I would not complain about that at all. I wonder if Yzerman's going to be the one to make that decision. But I do wonder if anything, if that's going to be something to look at in the future, in the near future, because I just think that Detroit has gone too long without making the playoffs. They are going to approach Buffalo territory very soon. Like they are getting up there. So they've got to make the playoffs. I mean, and their center depth. My only problem that I have with all this with Detroit, you weren't willing to give up pieces for Trocheck, but you gave up assets for a redundant defenseman in Justin Falk?
I forgot they gave up their first for Falk. Oh my god.
Yeah. So they don't have a first round pick this year.
Yeah, because I was trying to think of other teams that just missed the playoffs that maybe would trade their first round pick for him. I mean, there's really nothing there because Toronto traded their first for Carlo, and even if they did have it, I think trading a top 5 pick potentially for Trocheck would be stupid. So
Wait, hold on. Toronto, the Carlo trade was this year? I thought that was
they
last
traded
year.
they traded their first though for this year because their last year's first went for Scott Lawton. This year's first was the Carlo deal.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
But there is, I think, lottery protection in it.
Oh,
There is a condition on their first though, with the Carlo one. I forgot what the condition was.
Yep, March 7th, 2025, traded by Brandon Carlo, traded by the Boston Bruins to the Toronto Maple Leafs for a first-round draft pick in 2026, conditional, fourth-round pick in 2025, and Fraser Minton. What a terrible trade for Toronto.
It's only top 5 protected, so if Toronto falls to 6 in the lottery, Boston gets that pick.
Oh,
Holy
man.
shit. So they might get Minton and a 6 or 6-7. I know, so funny, everyone. Or 6th overall pick potentially for Brandon Carlo. Holy shit.
Tell you, man, Don Sweeney has made some questionable moves, but that and the other move I have to look at that Don Sweeney made that looks just like an absolute steal of a move is Justin Brazeau from Marek Kuznetsov.
Yeah.
That looks like such a steal of a move. Oh, man. Marat's been awesome for Boston. Like, he fits in like a glove with what they want to do right now. And you get like, he had 33 points this year in 77 games, which is like a nice little breakout for him. I mean, after he had, 12 points last year in 75 games, he almost tripled his point production. So he went from playing 12 minutes a game, just over 12 minutes, to 14 and a half. But it's good, though, because Boston needs they need talented centers like that. But yes, Treliving, I don't know what he was doing with that. That's why you're not in Toronto anymore, buddy. So
Yeah, wow. The fact that could be a 6th overall pick for Boston's insane. Bruin fans get to watch the playoffs and get to watch the draft lottery and be invested. Good for them.
yeah, and it's crazier because there's a good chance that they could beat the Sabres team.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about like the best defensive groups in the NHL? The Bruins have a real good defensive group. Like you have McAvoy, you have Lindholm, you have Lohrei, who is a good puck mover. McAvoy had a career year this year. McAvoy might have won a Norris this year had he not gotten hurt. Like there would have been some serious consideration for him. But you got McAvoy, you got Lohrei, you got Lindholm, you've got Zadorov in your bottom parts. Yoki Hardy is a decent depth defenseman. I mean, they've got pieces back there on
I like
defense.
Peak as a bottom pair guy.
So do I. I do like Andrew Peak as a bottom pair guy. And he gave them 14 points this year. I mean, the plus minus numbers don't look good for him, but I don't mind him on a bottom pairing. And like if they're not an easy team to play against. A lot of their guys have really bought in on playing, that rough and tumble style of two-way play. Like Zacha. Zacha, for a guy who was regarded as a bust for years has now looked like he's turned a corner in his career. If you want to thank David Pastrnak for that, go right ahead. Go right ahead. You're not wrong in doing so. But again, it does take two to tango. So, I mean, they have the right blend of skill, talent, and grit coming into play. Like, it's like what Steven always says, like, there's a difference between having grit and then having grit that can play. Like, you don't need Barclay Goodrows. You can use Mark Hastelich. You can use a Sean Corrali. You could use a Victor Arvidsson. That's Victor Arvidsson is a pain in the ass to play against. I mean Morgan Geekie has been a revelation. I can't believe he followed up last year with this year. I said for sure that he would not be able to sustain that production, and he just shut me the hell up.
I gotta give my brother credit on that one because when he signed there, because he wanted the Rangers to sign Geekie before Boston did, he was like all over him. I'm like, you are out of your mind thinking Morgan Geekie is going to be a good player, and sure enough, he has been good. And now my brother reminds me every day how good Morgan Geekie is.
Oh, that's great. How old's your brother?
20.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you had a brother. My bad.
Yeah, fumble by Seattle with Geekie. Yeah, Seattle. Talk about another fucking mid team. What was the other starred comment? The Stützle one.
Stützle one, yeah. Do you think Tim Stützle would have better picked it? I mean, the problem is that Lafreniere, and this was answered in the chat shortly after Gabe made this comment. Lafreniere was the consensus one, and you couldn't go against the board.
I always. Sorry to cut you off. I was going to say the thing that I always say is imagine a world where the lotteries were flipped and they got 1 in 2019 and 2 in 2020.
Yeah, you would come away with Jack Hughes
and hopefully Tim Stützle, but
maybe Stützle at that point.
Yep.
But look at that draft for Ottawa, though. Look at that draft for Ottawa. You came away with Stützle and Sanderson in the same draft.
Is that the draft where they got Greg also? Or am I wrong?
So they drafted Stützle at 3, Sanderson at 5. Let's see if I could sort. Let's see what Ottawa did in this draft. Okay. Sort. All right. So, yes, Stützle, Sanderson, Ridley Greig, Levi Merrilainen, Tyler Cleven, all came from that draft. All came from that draft.
I remember, too. I thought that they were could you imagine in that second round, they ended up taking Peterka? I thought they were going to take Peterka with that pick there.
Oh, man.
Round.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
To keep the Germans together? Yeah.
That would have been disgusting. They would have had 4 impact players just from one draft. That would have been unbelievable.
That was the draft. That was the German invasion draft. It was Stützle, Reichel, and Peterka that all came from that draft.
That's why I thought they were going to take Peterka because they grabbed Stützle earlier.
Speaking of Germans, do you know who Albert Smiths kind of reminds me of in a way?
Who?
Moritz Seider.
I'd have to watch a bit more.
I can see him having a developmental curve kind of like that. Because Seider was not regarded as like one of those top. Like, remember when like Detroit took him at 6 and there was just an audible gasp from the crowd?
Yeah, even from Seider himself.
Right, yeah. Seider himself was like, what? I was like, did not expect to go here. But there was just the development. I can see it. like Smits is big. He's rangy like Sider. He skates well for his size. I think he's more physical than Sider was even at that age. And I could see it to the point where he goes to like play professional. Smits could be anywhere from 5 to 10, possibly. I don't think the Rangers are going to take him. I think it would be a reach to take him.
Yeah.
But I would not be shocked if he goes closer to 5 than 10.
I will say that is one of those things though, where like if the Rangers do get to pick top 2 to where they get McKenna or Stenberg, that's where the conversation is. Do you trade? Is there a world where you could trade Schneider? You get a top or middle first round pick. You could package those picks to get back into the top 10 to take a guy like that. So then you walk away with either Stenberg or McKenna plus Smits in the draft.
That would be an A-plus day. If
Yeah.
they somehow found a way to do that, that would be an A-plus day. And that would be a big step towards rebuilding this team. Like a massive, massive step towards rebuilding this team.
Yep.
I like that idea a lot. Do I think that's going to happen?
Probably not.
No.
It really
I think it
depends on, because like the problem is looking at the teams in the top 10 for the draft. I mean, because Chicago has Florida's pick, if I'm not wrong. Vancouver's not moving their pick. Obviously, Chicago's not moving either one of those picks. So that's 2 of them. Calgary's not moving theirs. Toronto's not moving theirs. Seattle's probably not. Winnipeg maybe would move their pick since they were kind of on the outside looking in. And maybe if you give them a piece that helps them next year, maybe they would move their pick.
I think the only way that something like this can happen is if the board takes a massive shift, like an unforeseen shift. Like if it ends up shaking up or somebody reaches for somebody or something like not even reaches for somebody, but somebody makes a pick that's kind of like off the board a little bit. And it throws everybody else off because the next team has to go scramble to get another guy or something like that. And then they're out on a guy that they thought they would have a chance to get. Maybe Malhotra at 3 could be that instance.
Yeah.
If Chicago ends up there and they, something like that.
Yeah, and like Lawrence going early could also shake the board.
You know what? The more and more I read about this draft, the less and less I see Lawrence going early happening. And I know everybody's going to say, "Well, Rangers, Boston, nepotism, the walls will shake." I get the concern, but from what I hear, from what I've read and what I've seen, this draft seems like a defenseman's draft.
Yeah.
So if whoever doesn't get in on McKenna and Stenberg, I think they're going to look defenseman. I think the next 5 or 6 picks could end up being defensemen.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the other thing that sucks is like, the idea of trading back up to get Smith. It's like once that wave starts where Carls, Reed, and Virov go, like Smith is going to be that guy where it's like, we got to get him now and not let him fall sort of thing.
Here's my thing. I could see at least the next 4 being defensemen. I could see a run of defensemen right after that second pick.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Malhotra could end up being the next player after that, or maybe Belchetz. I think this commentary really does it for me. Another thing that I'm gonna bring up from Twitter real quick. I'll go back to Phil's because I guess that a lot of people will have their views on this, and depending on the price and what they do with said player, and there is a connection for it, so you might not like it, but I do think there is a possibility of this happening. Is Ryan Shea in Pittsburgh? So Vince goes regarding puck moving defense targets. Among the lower price UFAs, Ryan Shea could be a fit. The 29-year-old had 35 points with Pittsburgh this season and played under Mike Sullivan the 2 seasons prior. That's an interesting fit. Especially if it's a low price guy to come in and you can't get puck movers. Pretty sure Ryan Shea's a left shot guy, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that as like a.
Yeah, he's a left shot guy.
I wouldn't mind that.
No, depending on the price. If you told me you were bringing him in for like 2.5, 3 million, cool. Gabe brings up an interesting point here with.
I mean, that's what I was gonna say. That maybe because the problem is like this is where Drury's gonna frustrate me. Where obviously, if you could get Misa or Eklund or something like that, like I wouldn't mind it. But like, I would rather if there's a world where you could get the 9th pick in a Schneider trade instead of getting like a lower end prospect or like a B tier prospect. Like I'd easily rather take the 9th pick. But the problem is, I worry that Drury is going to be so he's going to be so set on wanting roster players or close to NHL ready players.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, because the Trocheck, so this is what has been said. Multiple places have reported this, that Drury wanted like 2 young roster players in a Trocheck deal.
That's just what's so frustrating right now is like I'm all for getting that if it's the right pieces, but like if you could get guys that, it might take more time, but it's worth the wait for, then do it. Like I get that you are trying to turn this thing around quickly, but I said it on the last stream we did, I think, or I said it on my own stream. I forgot what it was, but the best course of action is use stock as many draft picks as you can this year. Execute this draft, make next year like an evaluation period to see where you're at and see who you want to keep, who you want to get rid of, and stockpile more picks, let the young guys play, and then the year after is when you could start to hopefully, again, I don't know if it's going to happen, but hopefully start to open somewhat of a competitive window again because you actually stockpiled some young talent along the way here. But this whole thing of being set on, wanting NHL ready players, it's just like, I fear they're going to settle for lesser pieces just to try to get back in contention right away.
That's what I was going to say. Like the one thing that's why I don't blame anybody for having the concerns that they have about hot-shotting a rebuild. Because, I mean, listen, if you didn't plan on hot-shotting a rebuild, and I know Johnny said this in last week's stream, that Quinn Hughes is a difference maker, but why are you involved in the Quinn Hughes sweepstakes if you don't plan on hot-shotting it? I get Quinn Hughes is young enough. I get he's a difference maker. He's a guy that's going to put asses in seats, and he's a guy that can take you to that next level. But that means that you're going to hotshot a rebuild. You have to. You have to. You can't sign Quinn Hughes. Or no, sorry. You can't trade for 1.5 years of Quinn Hughes and then turn around and say, oh, we're going to take our time drafting and developing our players. That's not how it works.
Nope.
And that's why I really can see Minnesota coming around and forking up the pieces for Vincent Trocheck this time around in the summer, especially if they get bounced by Dallas. And every Ranger fan right now, that's what you should be hoping for.
Yep.
Because that's going to be one team right at the top of the list that's going to go, and it's going to go back. Garen's going to come back to his old friend. He's going to say, Chris, what can you do for me? This is what I want. You're not going to mean it? There's going to be a bunch of teams that are going to be interested now in the offseason.
I'm absolutely with you, Bundy.
Yeah, I mean, I would too. I would rather do the rebuild the right way, but the problem is, and I know I sound like a broken record, but you signed Igor to that dumb deal you should have never signed him to.
Yep. That's where it's frustrating.
And that's where I go back to Gensel. If you weren't going to go all in then, when? And if you weren't going to go all in at all, why give the goaltender the deal?
Yep. And the other thing, too, is you literally have no choice, because if Fox and Mika are willing to stay around, then that means you told them you're looking to turn this thing around and quickly. And again, it's not a decision that, and I know Bundy, you're not saying it's going to happen. None of us are saying it's going to happen. A long-term rebuild, it's just frustrating for the fans like us that are willing to be patient and watch them build the right way. It's frustrating because this is going to be the direction that they go in. And, Drury has to speed up for his own job's sake too. Exactly, Music. That's the problem too, is that they literally have no choice but to do an expedited retool sort of thing. And it's so frustrating, but this is where we're at. And, that's why, the best solution I could possibly come up with to make this work, even though I don't think it's still going to fully work, is you have to suck next year too. You have to treat next year as that evaluation period. Let the young guys start to take over. And if you make the playoffs as a happy to be there sort of thing, okay, whatever. But, best case scenario, you bottom out again next year. And then you have the wave of guys that you drafted this year start to come in. And then you could hopefully get a high pick the year after, plus some depth in the draft to where you're still going to have the next wave of guys coming in. And again, do I think it's enough? No, because I think you need a deeper prospect pool than that to really right the ship. But if you're looking to do this quickly, that's the only way I could see it semi-working.
I don't think Sean is wrong here with this. I mean, that the letter was literally like PR work. I
Yep.
do agree with that. I mean, I also do agree with Music's here. Part of it is probably for his job's sake.
I just addressed that comment.
Yeah, sorry.
100%.
But I mean, I also think it's because it's just arrogant. I think that you can't. You have to now justify that contract. Like, you have no way. Like, unless you can somehow move that contract. You have to work around it now. Like, you committed to it. By giving them the no movement clause, you committed to it.
That's also why the conversation of moving Fox is just pointless, because you're in too deep to where you have to try to turn this around quickly. Like, if they were going to blow this thing to the studs, then yeah, like, I'm easily moving Fox. I'm moving him at the draft, but
yeah. And you'd get a haul for him. You would get an absolute haul for him. You would get more than what Quinn Hughes just got.
Yeah.
Because of the term left on the deal.
You would get that 9th pick from the Sharks. That would definitely be part of it.
Yeah. Like, you would get that. You would get that, and then you would get some.
You would probably get Misa in that trade.
Yeah. You could get the 9th. You could get Misa. and then maybe a prospect like Musty or someone else with that. Because Fox has 3 years left after this deal. The problem is that he has a full no move until July 1st, 2020. June 1st, 2027 is when his no move expires. It says per cap wages. I mean, Puckpedia might have it a little differently, so you can check Puckpedia as well. Yeah, and this is really it.
Don't even get me started.
He didn't have the balls to risk seeing Kakko flourish in Pittsburgh. But again, I've addressed this. I've said that if you were going to trade him for a depth defenseman the next year, that tells me that you were on the fence about him at that time, at that deadline. If you were on the fence about him, and that's what it took to get the deal for Gensel done, then you should have done it. You should have went all in.
That's the thing that makes no sense is what changed within the span of how many months is that between the deadline to
I don't
December,
think
whatever it is. What changed within 8 to 9 months that all of a sudden you didn't want to move him for Gensel, but you were willing to move him for Borgen?
I don't think it changed. I think Sean's 110% on the money here. Like I think he screwed his hand up, and he didn't want to risk Kakko blossoming in Pittsburgh and having to deal with him how many times a year plus playoffs possibly. But the problem is that Pittsburgh was a team that was on the outs, an old aging core. Why would you not just deal him to that team? You're not going to worry about him.
That
Crosby's going to be around for how many years?
And you can't operate. You can't operate worried about stuff like that.
I think this might be part of it too. I mean,
yeah, we heard his comments right before he left.
Yeah, I mean, he got tired of being benched for no reason. And he wasn't the problem. He shouldn't have been being benched. But again, he needed to deliver more. And he still hasn't. So this is why when Mark goes back and says all this stuff about Kaapo Kakko and all that, then why is he not producing in Seattle? I couldn't agree more with this. I don't think he has the stones to take the calculated risks that need to be taken. I think there's too much PR look into everything that he does. I think he cares too much about the image. And I think his job security plays quite a role in the decisions he makes. And that's just not a good thing for a general manager. You cannot have that out of a general manager. But I'm going to do probably about like 5 more minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I got to get going.
Yeah, I'll do about 5 more minutes. Get some comments and questions in real quick and do about 5 more minutes. I'm
legitimately hop off now, though.
All right. So Evan's going to hop off. Thank you, Evan, for joining us. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, brother. Be good.
Yep. See you, Phil.
See you later. And again, it's Evan from Rangers Central. Matt was on with us earlier on. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe their channel as well and their work, because they put in a lot of good work for Rangers content as well. So just make sure that you're giving them a lot of love, because those kids do a hell of a job with this team, and I feel bad because they take a lot of shit. They do. They take a lot of shit for their takes. I've seen it on Twitter. I've seen it on here. But they are good guys who work their asses off to give good content to everybody in this community. So make sure you leave them love. I wanted Sonny Meta, but that was never going to happen. I would go after Rich Peverly now, though. That would be one guy I would love to bring in. I think Rich Peverly would be an awesome fit here. I already even see Jamie Langenbrunner over whoever. Now that Jamie Langenbrunner is not getting that general manager position, I wonder if the Rangers could have swayed him away from the Devils. What do you think the Rangers' new commentary team? I think Maloney is much better on radio. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Maloney on TV. I like Boyle better than I like him. Yeah, I think it's time for fresh minds here. I think they need to get away from people who may have had a connection to Glenn Sather. And I mean, if he's still pulling any type of strings in the background, he's got to get cut loose. I think it's time. I think he did some nice things for this organization, helped get them out of that dark ages spell. But I think there's I hate to say it, that there is a universe where Eichel and Gensel would have been playing together. But if this was the multiverse of madness, this is the worst possible timeline we could have gotten. You're right about that. But we can change things. There is an opportunity here to start new, start fresh, to do things right. So I don't know about you, but I am a Giants fan, and I am looking forward to tonight. So I'm absolutely looking forward to that draft. I cannot wait. I normally play hockey Thursday nights, and I'm not even playing hockey tonight. So oh, don't you dare. Don't you dare. I love you, but don't you dare. Don't you dare. And for everybody asking about the picks, I would not be surprised if Jeremiah Love goes to the Giants at 5. And at 10, they take maybe someone like a Mansour Delane, or if Caleb Downs falls, they could take him there. Sonny Styles is somebody that really would have been great, but yeah. So I think this is going to be one of the most pivotal drafts in New York Giants history. I'll tell you that right now. The Jets, I would not be shocked if they took Arvel Reese. I just think that's just a no-brainer for them there. I really do think it's a no-brainer. Hopefully they don't scatterbrain it. I know David Bailey is considered to be one of the most ready prospects of them all, but take Reese. Just take Reese. I think he can do so much more for you. And, getting defensive players for, this is a good question. I don't know if you can go wrong with either. I don't. I probably would take McKenna, but I don't know if you can go wrong with Stenberg. I would not be shocked if Stenberg ends up being the better player. There's something about Stenberg that I really like. I don't know, really, but oh, man. Oh, God, somebody just sent me an old tweet, and it's just really, really funny. I can't. Wow. Reese goes to the Jets, Bailey to Arizona, the Titans go for Love. Styles are down to the Giants. Jordan Tyson at 10 would be nice. I mean, I would love that at 10. That for all the injuries, I know the injuries are a problem, but the idea of Tyson and Neighbors together as a wide receiver 1 and 2 combo is just, that's so tantalizing. So tantalizing. The lottery is, I think, May 5th. I think it is. I think it's on Anthony's birthday. Funny enough, I think I remember him saying that. Yes, May 5th. Yep, it's May 5th. But I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate you all. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. We'll have our normal Wednesday shows. I'll try to do more of these throughout the playoffs. I'll try to be a little more set up on time. Yeah, May the 5th be with us. Yes. The best wide receiver injury list room in the league. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I don't want to hear it. I don't need that in my life right now. But thank you all again. I like I said, I want to try to do more of these. If I have the time to do them, I will do them, and we'll have more talk. Hopefully, we get a little more viewers on too as well. I'll probably have to start trying to make these ahead of time, and so this way I don't start super late. But yes, definitely looking forward to doing more of these and enjoying more playoff hockey with you. So, everybody, have a great day. Enjoy the draft lottery and hockey tonight. Hope you're all safe. Be well.